Hello, my name is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of the BlueLynx hockey spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to help you conveniently manage your tabletop hockey league project, including the standings, the schedule, but most of all, the player and team stats for your entire league. BlueLynx was created to help you get more enjoyment out of your tabletop hockey projects by giving you more time to play the games and look over the stats instead of painstakingly calculating them and entering them into a spreadsheet. In this video, I want to cover the new features that are included in BlueLynx version 2.1. So here's the basic list of the features: penalty shots, double minors. You can now hover on the lineup names in the score sheet to see their players' season stats. That's activated via a new game option. There are now stats for penalty shots and scoring streaks, both current and season scoring streaks. And those scoring streaks are also in the leaders. And the schedule now has a convenient way, or I'll say quite easy way with a mouse click to use a historical or actual score for a game if you'd like to use that as a score-only result. So there are other minor things, some bug fixes, some minor tweaks that I won't get into in this video, but these are the main things that I want to cover in more detail in this video. Okay, so let's talk about penalty shots. Here I've got a game going in my 70-71 season, and let's assume that the North Stars defenseman Barry Gibbs trips Johnny Busick on a breakaway for a penalty shot. So we'll start with the penalty. So we'll go to the North Stars and choose Barry Gibbs at 10:30. So here's the new penalty shot choice here. You choose penalty shot, and when you do, it automatically will select for 0 minutes and no power play. So that's for the penalty shot. We'll save this, and you'll see two things. If we look down here in the penalty log, you'll see here it shows Gibbs with no power play, and the type of penalty is penalty shot with no penalty minutes. And here you can see now I have a prompt that says select the skater that will take the penalty shot, and it automatically shows the Bruins. So if I click OK, now I pick my player. I'm going to pick Johnny Busick, as I mentioned. Click OK, and then I'm prompted a second time about the outcome of the penalty shot. So did he score on the penalty shot? So if I could say yes or no, let's pretend he did. So he does score. Oh, before I do this, I'm going to say, as soon as you have the penalty shot penalty, you'll notice in this score sheet, it'll add these two columns, and it adds them for both teams, even though it's only a penalty shot for one team at this point. But these PSG and PSOG, which is the penalty shot goal and penalty shots on goal. So automatically put those in if you have a penalty shot penalty in your game. So let's say Busick scored. So we'll do that. It writes it up here now that he's scored with a PS in the strength for penalty shot. You can see here it puts this penalty shot goal and shot on goal. It's also a regular shot on goal. And that's how you do the penalty shot. It's simple as that. Okay, for our next feature, let's talk about double minors. So we have our game here. Let's continue on with it. Let's say that Derek Sanderson high sticks somebody and cuts their mouth or something, so it gets a double minor for high sticking. So let's say this happens. Here we are in the second period at 15:05. Derek Sanderson, he was no stranger to the penalty box. So to mark the double minor, you choose minor first, and then you'll see this double box, which is right now disabled. It'll become enabled when you click a minor. If you click something else, it's disabled. So we'll click the minor, then click the double. You'll see here when I click double that this penalty minutes will change from 2 to 4.
And now we got to get the power play situation set up. So you can click no, which for no power play, which I guess may be possible on double minor. I'm not sure how that works actually, but typically it's going to be one or two. So you could have two power plays if there was no offsetting minor at the time, or just one if the other team just got a 2-minute minor that would offset the first 2 minutes, but the second part 2 minutes for the double minor would result in a power play. So the main question is if you say it does result in at least one power play, you click yes, and then you're prompted with this question which says, asks, does a double minor penalty result in 2 power plays? If so, click yes. Otherwise, click no for only 1 power play. So I'm going to click yes because that's the novel part here. And you'll see when I clicked yes, it writes a 2 here. If it would have said, if I go here and say no, it'll just put a yes here like it does for all the other penalties. But let's go with the 2. So I'm going to go back here and say yes, 2. I'm going to save it. Then we'll look down here in the penalty log, double minor for Sanderson. And what's different here is in the power play column, instead of having a Y or N for yes or no, it puts a 2 because it resulted in 2 power plays. And then if we look up here in the power play log, or summary table, I guess I should say, that you can see here the Bruins already had 2 penalties that resulted in power plays. So now they have those 2 plus this 2 for the double minor. So now they have, given the North Stars, 4 power play opportunities. And that's how the double minor works in the new version. Okay, so now to kind of wrap up those couple of features, I've finished this game. The North Stars won 2-1, and I'm going to compute my end of game stats, which I've already filled out for my goalies. It tells me the game-winning goal is assigned to Danny Grant, which is correct. And now I'm going to go to the box score here just to show you a couple of modifications here. So you can see, first of all, for Johnny Busick, you can see here it shows the PS for the penalty shot goal. Over here in the penalties, it shows the double minor with 4 minutes. And it also indicates that this Danny Grant's second goal in the third period was the game-winning goal. Those are a couple of minor tweaks to the box score. Okay, so let's go on to the next feature. Okay, on to the next feature. I'm going to now demonstrate the Scoresheet lineup hover stats feature. So the first thing here is this is a game option. So if I go to the game options down here, let me use my navigator thing. Scoresheet setup, game options. This new option, number 9, which talks about showing the player's season stats as a mouse hover tip in the score sheet for the player. So I'm going to turn this on. You can see here, when it's on, it'll add a note to kind of be able to view those stats. And it uses the season player stats, skater stats, and season goalie stat sheets to get the data from. So if you want to show this in your score sheet, you'll need to have computed the season stats for your skaters and goalies before you load the game in your score sheet. So that's the trade-off. If you want to have the stats, you need to compute them. So I'm going to turn this option on and update my game options. Okay, now I'm going to close this. Now I'll load a game into the score sheet. I'm going to load this Bruin Rangers game. I'm not sure how many stats I've got for these teams, but I know I have some. Okay, so here are my starting goalies. So you can see when it does this how it puts all these red triangles on the players. And that indicates that there's a a note. It's just like here, if we look at this note, it tells us about what this lineup edit says. But if we hover on the player, it'll give us some stats. So here for Rod Gilbert, it says they played 5 games. He's got 0 goals, 1 assist, 1 point, and a plus minus of 1. So these are kind of hard coded as far as what stats you see. And these are the skater stats. And if you hover down on the goalie, the goalie you want to hover in their lineup, not here. So if I hover on Ed Jockerman here, it'll say he's started 2 games and he's 2-2. You wonder, maybe he didn't finish and somebody else got the decision on the 5th game. And it shows his save percentage and his goals against average and a number of shutouts. So that is, let's see how it works for this, what I call the lineup hover stat feature. And again, it's just their season stats before the game starts. If they score during the game, they're not gonna, these stats aren't gonna change. So they're just a way to kind of see what they are before the game. So that is that feature. The next feature I want to demonstrate is how to use the actual or historical game result as a score only result on your schedule. So if I go to my schedule here, I've reset my score sheet. If I go to my schedule, let's say for these couple games here, game 69 and 70, that I want to use the historical result. So the first thing I'll do is unlock my schedule. And you could do this before, but it was more manual. You had to type it in yourself. But this way, now if I do this, I just click on the historical. First of all, I should say, if I click on one that, well, let's just do this the right way. Here's what I want. Blackhawks 2, Rangers 5. I click on it. I get a prompt. Hey, do you want to use this score for a scored only? If I say yes, it writes it in here. Asterisk 2-5. It won't let you do it on another game. So if I clicked it on this, it says you can't use a historical score to replace an existing game score. So it'll just ignore that. Well, not ignore it. It'll tell you you can't do it. So if let's say I want to use the same thing for this Penguins Flyers game where the Flyers won 3-2. I'll click here, say yes, and it puts this in. Now, when I'm done with as many games as I want to do like that, I'll lock the schedule again. I click this button, and when it does, it'll color these in, who's the winner and loser. And then if I want to go to my standings, if I'll redo these, let me see who was. That was the Penguins and the Blackhawks. Well, each lost. The Rangers and Flyers won. So go to my standings and recompute these. These Flyers should end up with another win. So if I click this, see now they have 4 wins. So that's that's the new convenient way to use historical game results on your schedule for if you want to just do a scored only and not generate any stats, but just have it in the standings. That's how that feature works. The last one I want to cover is the new stats and the leaders. So if we look in this game played stat sheet, let me use the skater log. You'll see here are the penalty shot goals and penalty shots on goal. If we look in the season player skater stats, we'll see here are those penalty shot things again, but here are the scoring streak, point streaks. Here's the current point scoring streak and then the season point scoring streak. And I should mention here that these only consider games played with stats that you saved in your league. That totally ignores score only games. And it also doesn't care if you play your games in order. So if you don't play them in order, then if a game is skipped, it doesn't care. It just looks at the games that are played, and if they're, you know, the next one that they played, it considers that consecutive. It doesn't look at what game number it is for the team. So I hope that makes sense. It basically, if you play your games in order, it'll work out fine. So that's that. So let's look at the leaders. So you can see here, I think these are up to date. Let me double check. Let me just, I know I did compute my season stats, so this should work. So here are those new stats. The season scoring streak says Tom Webster has a 6-game scoring streak, and currently Frank Mahovlich has a 5-game scoring streak. So let's take a look at this. Tom Webster, if we go to the player skater log, which is this here, this one, we could go in here and let's just look for Tom Webster. We'll clear all these out. Okay, here he is, Tom Webster. Let's go with that. And then to kind of, this already is in order, but to kind of make sure, what we'd want to do is say sort these from smallest to largest as far as the season game number goes. So this, you can see then, is his game by game log. And so right here are these 6 games with a point, and that constituted his 6-game scoring streak that we saw. And then let's look at Frank Mahovlich. And you can see here, he has found these last 5 games he's scored in. So that's shows why he has a current scoring streak of 5 games. And that's that. That pretty much wraps up the new features in 2.1. As I said, there are some other ones that are minor and minor modifications. You can look on the version sheet inside the BlueLynx spreadsheet to see a few more details, but these are the main ones, and hopefully these will add some enjoyment to your tabletop hockey game project.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. And like Red Green says, keep your stick on the ice.